Hello and welcome to today's video, which is going to be another ranking video. I will be ranking my BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I only have 5, but I've been trying to rank some of my eyeshadow palettes that I have several from a brand. So far, I have done Pat McGrath, ColourPop, Juvia's Place. I'm actually thinking about redoing the Juvia's Place one because I have gotten more Juvia's Place palettes since I did that one, and I still plan on doing Natasha Denona. So I will link my ranking makeup playlist where you can find lots of other ranking videos, and I've also ranked blush, highlighter, and all of that. So again, I only have 5. I wanted to do this video anyway. I will say I love the BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palette formula, so I actually love all of these palettes. I don't regret getting any of them at all. So ranking these was actually a little bit difficult. So please let us know your favorite BH Cosmetics palette. They really do have a lot, and it's a brand that has improved their formula so much over the years. I first tried the brand about 3 or 4 years ago, and at that time, I was really not impressed. Their eyeshadows definitely lacked pigmentation, but let me tell you, things have changed. They have improved so much. Alrighty, so let's just get into the ranking. All right, number 5, last place. Again, I still love this palette. That is the BH Sylvia Ghani palette. I really do like this palette. It definitely impressed me quite a bit. I have hit pan on it. I really love the colors in here. Honestly, the eyeshadows, I don't have much bad to say about, other than a few of them are just a bit on the chunky side. Like this one is not as smooth of a formula, but most of them are incredibly pigmented. These shimmers here don't even need a wet brush, and the mattes blend very, very well. I really hate these highlighters. I didn't get this palette for the highlighters, but because they're in here, I'm going to factor that into the ranking. This is an incredibly chunky, glittery formula. I've tried them a couple of times, and it doesn't even have any sort of pigment really. It just looks like chunks of glitter on the cheekbones. So really, this is only going in last place because it has these highlighters in here, which are really no good. But again, I really got it for the eyeshadows anyway, and I really do love them. So let me give you some swatches of some of my favorite shades in here. And most of these have a really good formula. There's just maybe 2 of the shimmers like I felt were a little bit chunky, but yeah, look at that. Very, very smooth. The mattes are amazing in this palette. Yeah, so beautiful color story. I love the reds, the purples. This is a really nice palette that has some color in it, but it's not like rainbow colors. It's just a really great palette, honestly. The highlighters are a dud, but the eyeshadows are fantastic. All right, spot number 4. Again, I still do love this palette. That is the BH Weekend Festival palette. This is the first palette that I got from them when they first kind of reformulated, and I fell in love with it. The palettes that I had tried before this, like I said, really were not very good. I did a full review on this when it came out. This was actually, I think, the first palette I reviewed on my channel, so I have some nostalgia for it, that is for sure. There are some really bright, fun colors in this one, and also some neutrals. There are a couple of shades I will say I don't love. This shade here, Carnival, it's okay. This one here is not super pigmented, but honestly, the rest of the palette is fantastic. Particularly, some of the best eyeshadows in here are these 3 here. This blue is amazing. This green shimmer, love it. That pink, oh my gosh. And this matte peach is one of my favorite peach eyeshadows ever. So again, really, really good palette. Just a couple of the shades I don't love. I feel like they're not super pigmented, but the majority of the palette is fantastic. Let me give you some swatches of some of my favorite shades in here. I've done so many looks with this palette. I've used it a lot. It's probably my most used colorful eyeshadow palette in my collection. So look at that. I mean, the colorful shades in here are incredibly pigmented. They definitely have probably more pigment than the Sylvia Ghani palette, but they're also bolder colors. But yeah, other than a few shades that I would say are not as pigmented, these are just amazing. Unfortunately, they did discontinue this palette, but they do have another weekend festival palette. I can't remember what it's called, something festival, but similar shades, definitely not exact. I didn't buy that one, but I have heard really good things about that as well. So yeah, this is definitely a good one. Again, one of my favorite colorful palettes that I own. All right, spot number 3 is the Avocado Toast palette. Now this one is really, really good. And this is a newer palette. And I will say the formula is top notch on this one. It is fantastic. There really are no duds. The only reason I'm not putting this like at number 1 or number 2 is just because there are a lot of green eyeshadows, and while I love green eyeshadow, I'm not gonna wear green eyeshadow as often, so I just feel like I get more use out of the other palettes that you'll see in spots 1 and 2. But if you like green, this is definitely the palette for you. There really, again, there are no duds. There are a couple more subdued shades, like you do get a couple pinks here. This matte orange is amazing. I recently talked about this palette in a ranking new eyeshadow palettes video. And yes, it made it very, very high on that list as well if you saw that video. This is a really, really good palette. I mean, it's just great. So again, I probably just won't get quite as much use out of it because it is so green, but if I want to do a green look, so these 4 here, you know, definitely going to go for this one. And I've created also, like I said, a few more neutral looks with this shade and those pinks in the palette. This one is $16. I haven't really said prices, but most BH Cosmetics palettes are between $16 and $20-something. The Bvlgari palette is a little bit more, I think, because it's a collab. It's $25. And I do think that one is still available. So yeah, this I got at Ulta. It is amazing. If you are a green eyeshadow lover, then I think you probably would enjoy this palette. On to spot number 2, and that is the Beautiful in Barcelona palette. I also talked about this one in that ranking new eyeshadow palettes video, and I think I also mentioned this in my recent favorites. I've used this palette a lot since I got it. I got it at the same time as the Avocado Toast palette from Ulta. Again, I think this one's also $16. The quality is just as good as the Avocado Toast. They are completely on par with each other. The only reason it's a little bit higher is because I think these are just types of shades that I would wear more often. Definitely some more neutrals in this one, but you also get some pops of blue. These mauves here are so pretty. This pink shimmer looks not very exciting in the pan, but on the eyes, it looks more pink than it looks here, and it is amazing. I love this palette so much, and I think it's an interesting color story. There's some more cool tones in there, which I feel like we don't get quite a lot of cool tones nowadays. These 4 here, if you can see, and that pink shimmer is so beautiful. I love the color selection in this palette, and I think it's so interesting. It's definitely, you can get a lot of smoky looks. I will say there are some more darker colors. They're so rich in pigment. Very easy to use. I mean, I really think formula-wise, all of these palettes are fantastic. I really, really enjoy this one. So this peach metallic here is beautiful. Again, the blues, they are great. Really nothing negative to say about this one. It's just really fantastic. And spot number 1 goes to the Royal Affair palette. You probably could have guessed it. I feel like I talk about this palette so much on my channel. Now, I will say, I do think that the formula on the newer palettes that I just mentioned is slightly better than the formula on this. The reason I have chose this as number 1 is the color story. I just really, really love the colors in this palette. I think it's definitely a unique selection of colors. I don't really have anything exactly like this in my collection, and some of the shades are pretty unique. There are cool tones in this palette, but it's not all cool tones. You do also get this mustard shade. This green is so beautiful, and this silver is probably my favorite silver eyeshadow that I've ever used. So again, I will say those newer palettes, I do feel like the mattes are just a bit smoother. These are a bit more powdery. And some of these shimmers maybe just a bit more chunky than the ones in the newer palettes, and I definitely would use a wet brush with them, but it is still an amazing formula. I love this one. I found this at TJ Maxx for like $8 and it is so good. This one is unfortunately discontinued, but yeah, this one is fantastic. Let me give you some swatches. Here are 4 of my favorite shades. That lime green is amazing. I love it. This pink is really nice. You definitely get some cool toned shimmers in this palette that I really love. So yeah, formula, fantastic. Color selection, just amazing. I really love this one. And I think the variety of looks I can do with this, I can do a warm neutral look, a cool neutral look, a pretty colorful look. You can do like a burgundy smoky eye. I mean, it's crazy the amount of variety in this palette, but the color story still, it makes sense to me. It's not like a random jumble of colors. I don't know, I think they did really, really well with this one. I wish it was not discontinued. That is my only complaint about BH Cosmetics. I've said this in other videos. I just feel like they bring new palettes out quickly and then discontinue the other ones. I mean, it's a business model, you know, I get it, but I do wish they would keep things around a little bit longer. Alrighty, so that is it for my ranking of my BH palettes. I'm so impressed with all of these, honestly, and I think the formula is fantastic. They have such a great price point and are just really, really doing well with their eyeshadow palettes. And again, they've come a long way because, as I mentioned, I tried some of their products a few years ago and really they were not that great. So they've come a long way and I definitely want to try more. I hear some really good things about their foundation and their blushes. I haven't tried any of that for a very, very long time. When I first tried their eyeshadows a few years ago, I tried some blushes as well at that point, and I think they were okay, but they've definitely reformulated everything. So yeah, please let us know your favorite BH Cosmetics palette. I definitely want to get more, especially the price point. Cannot complain, but the quality really, really is fantastic. I will link my ranking makeup playlist if you want to see more. That is it. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.